This is 95.9 WATD FM in Marshfield, and it's now time. Well, it is the first of the month, and it's time to bring in Linnea Starr. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm hoping for spring, so that would be the thing. The first thing that I'd ask you is, what's going to happen tomorrow? Will the groundhog see a shadow? I want to know ahead of time. I want to be prepared.
I know. I'm calling him up tonight, and I'm just going to tell him to give us a heads up for spring. I can't take another snowstorm.
Yeah, well, hand him a $50 bill or something. Maybe we can get right into spring early, because it is time. It really is time. It's been
a long, cold winter, and please.
A whole month of snow on the ground, you know?
I know. Let's pray that he sees the right, event, and we'll get an early spring this year. I hope that happens. Well, we'll pray for it.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to have a good show tonight, and you can call in to Linnea Starr at 781-837-4900.
Thank you, and I just wanted to say hello to all our listeners and just to tell them I hope that they're having a great weekend, and I bet a lot of you are watching the Super Bowl, which is kind of an exciting event tonight. And I'm doing an event myself next Friday night up in the area where I live. I'm going to be at the Hilltop Restaurant, and it's on Route 1 in Saugus, and it's an evening of metaphysical messages, $40 for dinner. And the performance begins at 8 o'clock. I'm going to go to every table and try to give messages from the spirit world. And you can find out more information on linneastarfeb1.com, or you could call the Hilltop Restaurant at 781-233-7700 and ask for the functions department. So hopefully I'll have a lot of people that will come to see a demonstration of mediumship and get some information from the metaphysical realm. I'm hoping that some of our listeners will call in tonight because, I'm able to pull some tarot cards, and I can do the past, which is called retrocognition. Sometimes we get prophecy, which is the future, and sometimes we can see things that are going on around you right now. So I'm just hoping that there are some people that might not be watching the Super Bowl right now, and maybe they're going to call us in and, ask a few questions. I did want to mention a few metaphysical things tonight, and I often mention synchronicity. And synchronicity is often a situation that occurs, and it seems to be a coincidence, but actually it isn't. It's usually a message from the universe trying to tell us to wake up and pay attention to a message that they're sending us. There is a wonderful book out there called When God Blinks, and it's really a whole book about famous people and their encounters with the symptom of synchronicity, and one of them is involving Barbra Streisand. And I think you all remember Barbra Streisand's movie a few years back called Yentl, and she actually wrote that story about her father. She had never known her father. Her father died when she was an infant. And she picked the name for the main character, Anson, which is a very wonderful Hebrew name, and she never knew why she picked it. And after the movie, she decided to take a pilgrimage to Brooklyn to visit her father's grave. She had never been there, and she, spent some time meditating at the site. And she said, Father, I wish you could send me a message that you do know that I wrote that story about you and that I wrote the song, Papa, Can You Hear Me? And something made her turn to the stone next to her father's gravestone, and the name on the stone was Anson, A-N-S-O-N. And what Barbra Streisand says in the book is, she said, I think my father gave me a message from the spirit world, a God wink, to let me know that, yes, indeed, he knew about the wonderful movie and the name that I picked for the lead character. There are some wonderful books out there that helps you to understand synchronicity and messages from the great beyond. And one of them is Small Miracles for Women. And there's several categories. There's small miracles for friends, small miracles for families. And I think one of my favorite vignettes from the Small Miracles book has to do with a gentleman coming home on the train. And he's coming home on the train. It's after 5 o'clock. It's cold. It's windy. All he does is he wants to get off the train and go home to his house. And he gets off the train and he's walking down the bike path and he hears a scream. And, he wants to ignore it, but that little intrinsic second conscience voice that we have tells him to go investigate the scream, and he reluctantly turns around and trudges off to find out what the problem is. As he's walking into the Underwood area, he sees a bicycle cast by the side of the bike path, and he can see somebody kind of assaulting somebody on the ground. He runs over to break it up. The assailant runs away, and he cannot really see the person on the ground, underneath him. And he bends over and tries to help the person up, and he says, "Are you okay?" And the voice comes back, "Daddy." It was his 12-year-old daughter. Somehow she had been riding the bike path coming home from the library, and had he not investigated that voice that he heard, had he not followed his conscience, hopefully, we might have had another outcome that wouldn't have been as beneficial as the one that we're talking about. So I would encourage people to go to any of your New Age bookstores and look for Small Miracles for Women, Small Miracles for Friends, and Small Miracles 1 and 2. They're a beautiful set of literary books that just kind of go over the process of synchronicity. A lot of people ask me, what is prophecy? And prophecy, you'll find it in the Bible. There were many people that were gifted with the gift of prophecy, and what I have been told is if you can predict an event for someone, if you can give them something that does come true in the future, then your gift is truly a gift from the divine. So I find that a lot of my clients are kind enough to write back in to tell me on my website what has come true for them, and that's called bearing witness. And I recently had an occasion to get a phone call from a very lovely young woman who is actually going to come to the function at the Hilltop. And what she told me was I had seen her a couple of summers ago, and when she relayed the story to me, I did remember who she was, and I was able to, actually tell her, I do remember meeting you. I see about 2,000 people a year, so sometimes I don't remember everybody. And when I did meet this girl, I did tell her I heard she was trying to have a child and she was hoping for a daughter. And she actually confided that that was the greatest wish that she and her husband had. They were hoping for a lovely daughter to join their little boy on the earth plane. I told her that within probably a month she would be pregnant, and I said, before you find out that you're having your child, your windshield is going to crack for really no apparent reason. So she told me a couple of days later she was driving on the highway, and the windshield did indeed crack a little bit. It had a little hairline crack in it, and she went to have it replaced at the glass company, and 2 days later she found out she was pregnant. She just had her baby girl this summer. So she said, I called to let you know what you had told me had indeed come true. Not coincidentally, I got an email this week from another young woman who wants to come to the event on Friday, and she said, actually, I want to take the microphone and I want to tell people what happened with me. I guess I saw her a couple of years ago at a seminar at a local library, and I told her she was about to get engaged, and she kind of laughed, and I said, it's actually happening sooner than you thought. And I also saw her grandmother's wedding band. I said, somehow you will become the possessor of your grandmother's wedding band, and that will be your gift from your grandmother. A couple of weeks later, she did indeed get engaged, and her aunt called her to congratulate her, and the aunt said, actually, I'm going to be sending you Nana's wedding band because I feel that you were the first granddaughter, you were very close to her. I feel she would want you to have that. So not only will this lovely girl, have her wedding, which I think has already happened, but she got an engagement ring from the man who loves her and wants to commit to her, and she got the lovely wedding band that had been the beautiful ring that her grandfather had given her grandmother. So it's things like this that when people email me or call me to tell me about such events, it's really kind of nice to make that connection. And I'm hoping that people will call in tonight. I have the tarot deck here. I'd be happy to go through your vibration to see what might be coming up for you in the new year, and hopefully give you some events to look forward to, some prophecies, maybe bring somebody back through retrocognition. And oftentimes in my neighborhood up here on the North Shore, I'll be walking around and I will, inadvertently see a client or someone who's come to something that I've done, and they're kind enough to share different things that have happened to them or have come true for them. Recently, I happened to meet a client of mine in a local marketplace, and she actually said to me, you had told me I would get a butterfly from my father, and she said it was October. She said, I didn't really think I could get a butterfly in October. She said I was coming out of a local pharmacy one night, and it was probably, close to 10 o'clock at night, and as I turned the corner to get into the parking lot, she said a very large white moth actually flew into my shoulder. She said I would take that to be the spiritual message that my father was trying to send to me. So she did indeed get the apport that the father was so graciously telling her she would receive. Apports are very popular because people do get them. They do come from the spirit world, and they are things that you sometime might not expect. I know recently I had seen a family that I had seen maybe about a year ago, and at the time that I met them, I told each sister she would get a blue butterfly from her father in the spirit realm. The father had been gone many, many years. These are mature women in their 30s and 40s. The father had passed away when they were all in elementary school. Within a week, each sister either emailed me or called me to tell me that they had indeed received a beautiful blue butterfly, either on a card or on an ornament, or had come into contact with something that had a blue butterfly on it, which they felt was being sent to them by their father in spirit. I know a few summers ago I had occasion to meet a very lovely woman from California, and she was visiting the Boston area, and I told her that she was going to have a son. And she kind of laughed and said, actually, she was 45, her husband was 51, and I said, well, actually, I said, I do see a baby by next Christmas. And I said, I hear the name John Michael. She said, actually, we would name a son John Michael. That was my father-in-law. As we continued to speak, the father-in-law showed me a policeman's badge, and he said it was mounted over their mantle in California. And the young woman looked at me, and she said, actually, my father-in-law was a policeman, and my husband has his badge right over our mantle in our living room in California. She came back to this area last summer, and I had occasion to meet with her again, and she was indeed expecting a child, and the baby was due December 10th. The baby has since been born. They did name him John Michael. They were quite thrilled because, as I explained, she did not think at her stage in life she and her husband would be blessed with the gift of a son, but her father-in-law came back to bear witness to the eternity of the soul. I recently met one of my clients today in a local store as I was, doing my errands. I hadn't seen her in a couple of years, and I do very much remember her. And when I first met her, she had come to a seminar that I was doing locally. And I brought back her lovely son. Her son had passed away, unfortunately, unexpectedly, and he told me to expect the arrival of his namesake, and he named his sister. And the mother looked at me and she said, actually, he does have a sister with that name, but she's not having any more children because she gets preeclampsia. And I said, your son is telling me that his namesake will be here November 5th of 2005, and I see Providence, Rhode Island. I don't know why, because I know you live in Massachusetts. And oddly enough, a few weeks later, she brought the sister to visit me at one of my agencies, and I gave the same prophecy to this woman. I said, you're going to have a blue-eyed blonde baby. He will look just like your brother, and you will name him, indeed, after your brother. And she kind of laughed. She said, we're Portuguese and Italian. Our daughters are very ethnic-looking. It'd be very difficult for me to have a very blonde, blue-eyed baby, which her brother had been a blonde, blue-eyed baby. But to make a long story short, she did welcome a beautiful child in 2005. He was due November 5th. He was born Tuesday, October 18th. They did name him after her brother, and she did deliver down in Providence, Rhode Island. She went to a special hospital for preeclampsia people. And I saw the mother today in the store, as I said, and she took a picture out of her wallet, and the child has platinum blonde hair and blue eyes. She said, he is the image of my son. He looks just like my son. And I said, when did your lovely daughter find out she was expecting him? And she said, actually, it was a year to the day after we met you. So she said, from the year to the day that we met you, a year later, my daughter found out she was expecting this wonderful boy. And as this lady said to me, he's the light of our lives. And again, if you can get a prophecy, if you can make a connection, if you can have them come back to you to bear witness to the eternity of the soul, I think it's something that we don't forget. Oftentimes I get names. Sometimes I'll get a first name. Sometimes I'll get a last name. And a couple of weeks ago, I was in a local community, and there was a lady trying to reach someone in the spirit world, and I actually connected with her brother. And the brother actually brought her father through to me, and the father gave me the name Francis Xavier. And she said, actually, my father's name was Francis Xavier. And I said, well, he says Flaherty. She said, my father was Francis Xavier Flaherty. Now, this lady was anonymous to me. I did not know her. We had had no prior connection, but I could see the look on her face because she was sitting there telling me there is no way that you could know my father's first name, middle name, and last name. And I said, actually, he's sending love to your mother, Elizabeth. She said, that would be my mother. My mother's name is Elizabeth. So I think that when you come into something like this with an open heart and an open mind, the universe responds by letting you know that they can communicate with us. You can get messages of an evidentiary nature. And today I did a wonderful group of people. I had an event locally, and the young woman was very, very open to this, and the whole family was. And her beloved grandfather came back to say, tell her happy birthday May 18th. May 18th is this young girl's birthday. She and I have never met before today. There isn't any way that I'm going to know that her birthday is May 18th. She was quite pleased about that because she had a special connection to her grandfather, and for him to come back and be a witness to her birthday, I think that was telling her that he was okay and he was still very much involved in her life, especially as I explained, I think he's her guardian angel. I often tell people that children have an ability to see the spirit world and to hear things that maybe an adult can't hear. And sometimes I will tell people that if your child is looking at one particular picture in the room, or maybe they're talking to somebody when they're in their rooms at night, it could very well be, it could be a relative coming back to speak to the child and to give messages that the child can communicate with you. Unfortunately, sometimes by the child's age of 10 or 11, that gift is no longer there. But with me, I was really fortunate. My family, especially my mother and grandmother, seemed to encourage it, to tell me that, it was okay to make the connections, to go into the metaphysical world, and to bring what I brought back to be a witness to the eternity of the soul. Sometimes I am the recipient of some wonderful apports from my family. And last Christmas, I did ask my mother to send me something, especially for me, because I can't do the mediumship for myself. Unfortunately, I can't do it for me. And I happened to walk into an antique store about an hour later. It was probably a day or so before Christmas. And I happened to look up on the wall of the antique store, and I almost fainted. On the wall was a musical score from a song that my grandmother used to sing many, many years ago. And my mother always loved that song for some reason, and when I was born, that was her nickname for me. Nobody really knew the nickname except my grandparents and my father, and so nobody on the outside of the family would have known the content of the name. And I walked over to take the plaque off the wall, and it was Bedelia. My mother used to call me Bedelia, just as a affectionate kind of name for me when I was little. And I walk into an antique store an hour or so after asking her to send me something, and there's my nickname on the wall right in front of my face. So it was kind of fun to get that message from her. And recently, actually it was last Easter, again, I did make a request. I said, could you please give me something from you, just something to let me know that you are hearing me and you do still make the connection. And I take care of two wonderful children that I predicted, and I happened to go up there that afternoon, and the little boy said to me, I made you something, and I said, okay. And we went to his woodshed. He's got a little woodshed where he makes all kinds of wonderful things, and he pulled out a 6-inch wooden cross. He had nailed two pieces of wood together, and he said, I made this for you, and he wrote his name on it, and he put numbers and X's and O's, and he said, I wanted to give it to you this week because it's Easter week. So as I was hugging him, he said to me, shall I tell you why I made it? And I said, I would love to know why. And he said to me, God told me you were missing your mother. And if I gave you a cross, you would know that she's in heaven with him, and you wouldn't be so sad anymore. And I just looked at this little 6-year-old and all of his innocence and his faith, and I hugged him, and I said, I am so, so happy about this. And he said to me, what are you going to do with it? And I said, I'm going to hang it in my house, which I did. It's in my hallway. And I said, but it's only on loan. I said, because when you grow up and you're meeting the wonderful person you're going to spend your life with, I'm going to take them out to lunch, and I'm going to wrap this beautiful wooden cross in a box, and I'm going to give it to them. And as they open it up, I'm going to say, this is the wonderful child that your beautiful fiancé once was. He looked at me and immediately beamed, and he said, my wife is going to like that. And I said, I agree with you. I think she's going to like that, too. I'm hoping that people will call in tonight. I'm not sure, maybe because of the Super Bowl game, maybe they're ensconced in that. But I do appreciate the opportunity to give the message that the soul is eternal. And I find that the radio is a wonderful, wonderful medium, no pun intended, to reach the listening audience, because the spirit world is invisible, radio waves are invisible. So it's almost like here comes a connection to the spirit world, and we're using radio frequencies that you can't see. I had an interesting incident happen recently I was at an event locally, and one of the gentlemen that I was talking to decided to tape the event, but he was kind of shy about telling people, so he had the tape recorder in his pocket. And I did not know it. Nobody else knew it. And the hostess called me the next day to inform me that when this gentleman went home to listen to the tape, he was very astounded because there's my voice on it and there's his voice answering me, and there's another voice in the background. It's a gentleman talking. There was only one man in the room at the time, and it was him. He is convinced that it might be his father, and what he's hoping to do is have it enhanced a little bit so that I can listen to it along with the hostess that hosted the party, because he said to the hostess, I really feel it was my dad trying to speak to me, and by taping it, maybe I captured his voice on the tape recorder. So that is called electronic voice phenomenon. And I've had a few experiences with that. A couple of years ago, I went to a home in Gloucester, and it's a very old church that's been refurbished into condominiums. It's very, very beautiful, and they've kept a lot of the stained glass windows that the church originally had. When I came into this woman's house, I kept asking for Amanda, and she said, actually, there isn't an Amanda. And I said, well, I'm picking up someone named Amanda, and one of the ladies taped the event that night. At the end of the night, when I was getting ready to leave, the hostess asked me if I'd like to see the stained glass windows, and I said that I would. And I walked down the hallway, and at the very end of the hall that I had not seen was a very lovely stained glass window from 1880 dedicated in memory of Amanda. Now, whether that was the Amanda I was picking up remains to be seen, but this hostess called me the next day, and she said, you know, there were only women in the room last night, 6 of us, and I agreed. And she said at the end of the tape, there's a little girl's voice that's laughing, and the little girl says, I'm here, and she laughs. Now, was that Amanda coming through to bear witness to the eternity of the soul? I don't know. I lost contact with that client. She did give me a copy of the tape. I did hear it a couple of times, but unfortunately one night when I was playing it, it kind of unraveled and I kind of lost the connection. There are some people that will go to cemeteries and they will take voice-activated tape recorders. They will leave them on graves and they will come back a few days later, and oftentimes they will find that there are sounds on there or there are voices, and a lot of this electronic voice phenomenon has been substantiated over the years. There is a wonderful book out there, and the name of the author escapes me, but the name of the book is Ghost, Ghost, and it involves a woman who is investigating a crime scene down south, and she decides to visit various areas of the crime situation. She brings a voice-activated tape recorder. Throughout her investigation, the voice-activated tape recorder starts to give messages to her. She will come to work and the red light is on. She will go to a hotel and spend the night. She will wake up in the morning and the red light is on, indicating somebody's been speaking into the machine. And it is a very interesting documentary of how she solved a crime situation down south. And if you have a chance, you can ask Borders or one of the other bookstores to try to find the book. It's called Ghost. I think the author's first name begins with Catherine. I can't remember her last name. So again, I'm hoping that people will call in tonight simply because it is, you know, a wonderful way to make a spiritual connection to people on the other side and to show you evidentiary information that the soul is indeed eternal. I'm just hoping that people keep a log sometimes when you do call in, because you are told certain things, and it's much easier if you write them down to remember them, and you can make a reference as time goes by to make sure that some of the things you've been told have come true.
Well, so we do have a phone call.
Oh, good. Hey, that's a miracle.
We have 2 phone calls. We have DJ, and then we'll have another one after that.
All right, so this is DJ on the phone?
Should be.
Hi, is this DJ? Hi, can you hear me?
Well, let's go to the other call.
Hi, can you hear me? Is this someone named DJ?
No, this is Shara.
Shara. All right, well, thank you so much for calling. Have you ever done anything like this before?
I have not.
All right, so I'm curious. Why did you call in tonight? Did you hear the program?
Yes.
All right. Well, actually, I am going to pull a tarot card for you, if you could. Have you ever had your cards done before?
Actually, I've had my cards done once before.
All right, the card that I got is the Sun. I got the card of the Sun. May I ask you how old you are?
I'm 25.
All right. Do you have children yet?
No.
All right. Well, I'm just seeing the card of the sun. What I'm being told is somebody might be talking to you about a wonderful event of pregnancy. Have you heard about someone's pregnancy recently?
I can't think of it right now.
All right. Well, you're going to hear about pregnancy, and I do think it's a baby boy. And they are asking me about your dad. May I ask you where your dad is? Is he on the earth plane, your dad?
Yes.
All right. Well, who's ever talking to me is mentioning your father. Why do they say Michael around you? Who is Michael?
Michael? Yes,
Michael?
I know Michael.
And who is Michael?
He is my sister's ex-husband, actually.
All right. Well, there could be some news around Michael. Does your sister have children?
Yes.
All right. Why are they saying the month of February around you? What is the month of February? Do you have a connection to the month of February right now?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Well, it looks like there could be money coming to you in the month of February, and we're in February now, so I would think that perhaps, are you working right now? Do you have a career going on?
Yes, I do.
All right. Well, there could be some, upward mobility in your career, and they are giving me the letter B. Why am I getting the letter B around you? Does someone have a B in their name that's close to you, or do you know someone with the letter B?
I do know people with the letter B.
I'm hearing Barbara. Is there a Barbara around you?
Barbara. I can't think of a Barbara.
All right, I hear that in the work realm. But, it just says that to have an open heart and an open mind. February is going to be a financial month for you. Is there a gentleman connected to you right now? Are you committed to someone?
I'm sort of seeing someone, yes.
All right, well, what I'm hearing is whoever this person is, there could be some news around them. Maybe it's going in the right direction. And they are showing me Florida around you. And is there a connection to Florida that you can think of? Have you been there? Do you have relatives there?
I've been there many times, actually. I have one of my best friends lives there.
All right, well, there could be another connection to Florida. And they are showing me the month of December around you. What is December?
December's I was born in December.
You were born in December?
Yes.
All right. Why did they say December 11th, 12th, and 13th? What are those days to you? When were you born?
I was born on the 14th.
Well, hi. I just told you December 12th, and 11th, 12th, and 13th. Your beautiful mother was waiting to have you. Those were the 3 days right before you came on the earth plane. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, who's ever talking to me, I'm going to say that they are telling me that they awaited your arrival with great love. May I ask you where? Do you have grandmothers on the earth plane now?
I do have a grandmother, yes, one grandmother.
All right. Is the other grandmother in the spiritual plane?
She passed away.
All right. Well, I think that might be the lovely woman that's just talking to me, and sometimes they'll make a nice connection around her birth. And she's telling me to ask for her youngest grandchild. Where are you in the birth order? Where would you be?
With my older sister, I'm the youngest.
All right. So are you the baby? You're the baby. You would be your grandmother's youngest?
Yes.
All right, so I think what she did tonight, and, I know I don't have a lot of time to talk to you. I wish I did. But I think she just took the opportunity to come back and give you some close dates to your birthday to say we were waiting for you and you were the baby. And I think she's just trying to say that she's still very much in your vibration and that she sends you great joy and to let you know that she is very close to you still. Why is she showing me a ruby ring around you? Do you have a connection to the month of July?
July... I can't think of a strong connection. I have a close friend that was born in July.
All right. Well, she's actually telling me that your relationship and your job, there'll be some upward mobility between February and July. And she did give you, a close the day before you were born. And why does she tell me to say Rachel? Who is Rachel?
Rachel.
Rachel. Do you know a Rachel?
I used to know a Rachel, but not currently.
Well, that could be news of Rachel around you. And I am going to pick a wish card. And you did get the King of Clubs. So you've got the King of Clubs, and the card next to it is the Ten of Hearts. So October could be a month of love for you. And the King of Hearts, the King of Clubs, is the King of Luck. So I'm being told that who's ever around you romantically, there could be something special for you in the month of October.
Oh, great.
All right. So thank you so much. And you can look at my website. Thank you, linneastarfeb1. Thank you.
first with breaking news, weather, and traffic. 95.9 WATD FM Marshfield. Streaming 24/7 at 959WATD.com.